Now, when we see government putting that as much money as they have put, that is what the government could have raised in revenue, because budget is about revenue and expenditure. You're not going to expect government of Uganda to put all the money in one KCCA. Yes, it's a priority. Yes, it's a big problem. And my colleague, Honorable KATUNTU, has just mentioned that even the little that we have, couldn't we have done something better for Kitezi? Even with the little. Yes, we needed 20 billion or something, but the little that we had, was there anything that could have? For me, I thought that is where the discussion should be, because there is no way, even I think, even if you go to US or New York right now, you're going to see garbage everywhere, but I mean, systems and all that. So every city has its own challenges. For me, the discussion should be around, with the little that we have, how have we implemented, how have we executed the little budget? And then,
Doctor, you need to understand, there is a unit cost. Let me give you an example that was...
I hope you are bringing the issue of corruption
when
as
I
well.
raised it in Parliament. For every child in a UPE school, government is giving 10,000 shilling a year. But in the schools run by the president, in Kanyareru and Gomba, he pays 700,000 per child. That is his calculated unit cost. So by a miracle, you can have a child of 10,000 a year performing. But if they fail, whether the money is stolen or not, first of all, you are not meeting. So you need to look at, calculate the unit cost to run a city. If the unit cost is 60 billion to Duchtes and Dundu, and you provide 1%, you cannot blame anything else.
You know, for me, Oscar, I'm not so much a blaming, pointing finger kind of person. I expected that this discussion was going to be about what can we do. A shared responsibility.
That's the question I put
Because
to
if
you.
Everything is about this one man, Museveni, one man about... Unfortunately, all the three of us are members of parliament, and we have a role to appropriate the budget. If that money was there, why didn't we give it? It is not there.
Museveni removed it.
No, the revenue, even that 10 billion, would it be enough? You just said you needed about 50 billion. For me, I think...
This is what I put to you.
Yes.
That what are you going to do? What is the NRM side going to do?
For me, the first thing that the president has done to remove this executive is to tell you that even the little you have, use it well, and also be professional in the way you do your work. Secondly, there is very high corruption, not only in KCCA, but the whole country. How much is it a kilometer of road? And you can... In KCCA?
4.8.
Exactly. Is it the same in other cities? Like it is not, right? That is corruption. That's what we are saying, that even the 1 billion, can we also do the right thing with the little that we have? So if we were talking about, can we make sure that as leaders, we hold our civil servants accountable, tighten the gaps where corruption come in? If Tanzania or any other cities around in East Africa is doing a road at maybe 1 billion or something, why are we doing 4? And why are we not asking questions? Why didn't we even ask that, Dorothy, that why are you doing this one at 4, but we have learned the other side it was this?
Doctor, I think, you see, let us look at what case the Lord Mayor and the Council, they have been asking this question. Not
They even came to Parliament.
they even came to Parliament. So these sort of questions have been asked for a very, very long time, including the time when I was chairperson of local government accounts, which is over 2 decades or a decade ago. So to me, you see, as long as, let me tell you, as long as you have that conflict, power centers, nobody really is responsible, you will have this problem. Because under the constitution, KCCA, the Kampala State is supposed to be under the control of central government. So the question you are asking who?
I'm
Are you asking the central
myself
government?
and ourselves as members of
So
parliament.
it is a rhetorical question.
Because remember, we have also an oversight role. For me, what I want us to get out from this is that a country as Uganda has systems of governance. Members of parliament have an oversight role. I'm even glad he was a chair of the committee.
So
for me, I think we should find a shared kind of
some more
solution.
information.
Yes.
Moses
But not this thing of Museveni. No. Can we, if Museveni leaves now, say Mujo? No. If you become a president today, would you give 1 billion, 100 billion or whatever in
They ask me
KCCA?
for 60 and I give $1 billion and I blame them.
And then you close all the hospitals? I think as leaders, let's see a better way of managing our country, and we have responsibilities.
Let me give you a
For me, that's
message.
what I think.
Here's a message from Moses Wiranga. It says, government obtained a loan of 1 trillion from the ADB for repair of 100 kilometers of roads. Madam Kisaka appeared many times on Negang talking about this project, but implementation has been so slow.
Thank you.
I hope Semuju knows this.
Thank you.
Yeah, but
It is not Museveni who should come and sweep the roads.
Remember, the road is in Namamvi. They have been under construction for the last 15 years.
Is that Museveni?
Yes.
It is a person given responsibility. Museveni has given you a job.
You don't do that.
Go and do the right thing.
You don't do that.
Do not steal the little money which is there.
Oscar,
For me, I don't
without
think
appearing anything, I think my sister, doctor, should get this clearly. The English people said the buck starts and ends
With the boss.
with the boss. You see, if you are heading a corporation and things are not going well in that corporation, you as managing director of that corporation, you can't run away. Say, by the way, I appointed the procurement officer, so he's the one doing the things correctly. I think you need to look at it that way.
Okay.
That some of these, because, for example, to sack an ED, who can do it other than the president? So have the things been going on well at KCCA until she stays? Or we all know, including you and me, that things are not going on well. And if they have not been going on well, what have we done as responsible officers, including the chief executive of the country? So I want you to look at it in that light, not in a side that people are saying Museveni.
But now
President
the chief executive
Museveni
has
is the
told
chief
you are
executive.
not doing the right thing. Go home. I'm bringing somebody else.
But everybody is
That
happy
alone,
with
you
that
also,
decision.
you see?
Everybody is saying they are happy.
Thank you. Let's get Agatha to close this out. For you that want to find us on YouTube or Capital or X, formerly Twitter, go to Capital FM Uganda. And on Capital FM Uganda, the YouTube link has been pinned there. Agatha, you close out the KCCA topic.
Should have been Agnes.
To close it out. So I think I agree that Honorable Agnes today has struggled.
Struggle how?
Yeah, because when you're talking about budgeting and saying that you guys are MPs and you should have allocated this money, when recently, just this budgeting cycle, when Parliament tried to reallocate funds to other areas that, some they thought were critical, others were for their benefit, the President returned the bill, right? And that bill, everything went back, money for that they had allocated to ROCO went back to ROCO, and this is ROCO that was given 270 billion in 2022, being added more, removed from ambulances. So Honorable Agnes here knows that the budgeting in this country, Parliament is supposed to just rubber stamp what has come from the executive, and I think there is a problem with the law there that, the budget is the president's budget. So I don't know how Parliament now, which has the allocation role as well, how they work on that together. Because ordinarily you'd think it comes from the executive and Parliament reviews it and says, no, here the priority should be here. Because you cannot, Honorable Agnes, you can't say that the priority, you saw people going to die at the hands of cheaters, and you didn't think that was priority, and you thought buying cars, giving billions to State House or whatever other things you do are the priorities. We know that there's no money, I mean not enough to solve all the problems, but we are saying human life should really be priority of this government. And when you're talking about you being members of parliament, I'm glad you're a member of parliament. You know that Parliament has no power to do many things, especially when the executive is involved. So I will again say that the firing of the current leadership, I mean the previous leadership under whose stewardship the Chitezi tragedy happened, is a good step. But I'll ask again, if we have known that Chitezi reached its capacity 14 years ago, who was there, who should take responsibility? How many times did KCCA request for the budget to resolve that problem, and it wasn't given that budget? I knew about the 26 billion that was requested to generate power from the rubbish there and was not given. Honorable Semuju is now talking about where they requested for 60 billion and were given 1 billion. So when you're firing people, show us that these resources were allocated to resolve this issue, but they were not used, or the implementation was not there.
Okay, thank you very much. We stop for a break, and after the break, we go to the lawyers. Welcome back from the break. This is the Capital Gang. And now we move to the Uganda Law Society elections. The election is going to happen today. I think they've started already. Agatha, you're the closest to Gen Z people on the show. Was this expected that you'd have Isaac Semakade shaking and banging tables?
You know, Honorable Agnes said we shouldn't, said she will be surprised if we blame Museveni for that as well. I blame Museveni for that.
Because imagine
You blame
Yes.
Museveni also.
You know, like how Ugandans keep saying Museveni at Fuzebubi. Because when you find yourself, I am seeing the lawyers, those who are voting Semakade are saying, but he's better devil. We this country, we have been now forced to settle for the lesser evil. Always. You are always saying, like, we don't deserve better. We just deserve a lesser evil in everything. And I think it's really a governance issue still that gets to that level. And like the Uganda Law Society, someone wrote an article, a friend of mine, Andrew Karamaji, where he said that the Uganda Law Society has been on life support for long, that we can hardly remember when it was, vibrant. And that's true, because I don't remember any ULS election that people were interested in. Me, personally, I really have always seen it's ULS, it's the lawyers and their pomp and whatever. Like, at the end of the day, there's nothing much ULS is adding or removing from our lives as ordinary Ugandans. But now this comes and you have Semakade. And I think Semakade, everyone calls him rule of law champion, or that's what he has self-proclaimed. But I think he does everything that is contrary to that, to rule of law itself. He shouts down people. He doesn't hear any divergent view. I have seen him make outrageous accusations, and this is, I am conflicted because I've been at the receiving end of those, and I'm saying, but lawyers are supposed to have at least some basis of I am saying this, and
he wrote to funders saying that you people don't have accountability.
No, actually, when he wrote, now he didn't write about accountability. That's the strange thing. On Twitter, they were talking about accountability, and I was asking, Semakade has run an NGO for 10 years. Over 10 years, I think. It's called Legal Brains Trust. There's no day he has ever come on Twitter and displayed accountability. He knows how accountability for donor money is done. So when he's demanding for accountability, I try to ask, so what exactly are we dealing with? Are you saying it's illegal to get money from donors? Are you saying we got money and didn't do what we were supposed to do? Are you saying, but when he actually wrote to them, he didn't raise any accountability issue. He said that we are a threat to freedom of expression. That because, I think he used an example of some cartoons drawn by Spire, but also responses from Godwin, because he's thinking we should be attacked and accused first and people don't respond, and said that we had, unleashed a mob. But I don't want to talk about how he has affected me as a person. I'm talking generally that for me, a person like that actually is a threat to that rule of law.
But how have you decided that you blame President Museveni for that?
Exactly, I wanted to hear
Sorry?
that.
How then do you decide that you blame President Museveni for the creation of Isaac Semakade?
No, but like I've told you, so the lawyers have found themselves in that position where they are saying, but if we don't vote Semakade, then who? Yeah. They kept saying, but what is the better choice? And those who asked me, I said, because I don't know the other two candidates. I think one
withdrew.
One candidate.
So
He's also Isaac.
They have been two other than Isaac until yesterday, but one. Oh, all right. So I would be asked, but who would you vote? And I said, no. I actually don't know who I would vote. I know who I wouldn't vote. Because if you have already seen, because these issues are out there of everyone saying, but there have been debates where young women have asked about an issue of sexual harassment where there are even allegations against him, and he has said, but you're not even fit enough to tie my shoelaces. How dare you ask me that question? If you're a woman enough, come and stand next to me. And everyone is intimidated, is scared, and people had to get out of that. So you are thinking a person like that in leadership and of a law society, because law is about, arguments, divergence in opinions and views. You would want a leader that assures you that that will happen, that people will bring ideas. Semakata doesn't respect any idea that is not his.
Okay, I have seen what Agatha says. This shows a rare occasion when Agatha and Abdu are going to agree on something. But
I am not so sure because Agatha is having her own problem with Sema.
Yes, I think so. But for me, I'm waiting to hear.
You don't want to get into that.
How the president.
Oscar, let me tell you how I understand law society. Not by the act that sets it up, but I read a book of Honorable Sam Kareganjua, and he wrote about his role during the Amin time, being a chairman of Uganda Law Society, that exercised some moderating professional effect on the excessive abuse of law by the government. There are people who were arrested by the military using his office as chairman of Law Society. He went following them up until he himself was arrested. And each morning he was being caned by the soldiers. The first time they asked him if he had taken tea, and for 2 days since he hadn't taken, he said, I haven't taken, sir. So he thought they were giving him black tea or coffee. So they took him and they started whipping. Yeah. Then he realized that actually tea meant exactly that, whipping. So his role, I remember one time I wrote about Sebatindira and she was offended. She got other people like Ochiti was able to call me to express her that, because I was comparing the role of Njuba as the chairman of Uganda Law Society during Amin and her role as the chairman of Law Society under M7. So that's how I appreciate Law Society. Abdu and the other lawyers can tell me. So therefore, if that is the role as Njuba captured it, that you must have a moderating professional effect on the application of law by the court, by government, the beneficiary, those of us, the public, who are the beneficiary of that role, you carry us along as you go to Munyunyu to choose the next president of Law Society, because you're going to be beneficiary of your services, free services. At the stage where we are now, again, the lawyers will forgive me, when I compare some of the past presidents, like Professor Sempewa, I think what has happened to the rest of the institutions, public, I remember Godba telling us at Katonga that what dictators do, all of them, first they will capture state institutions, then they will capture private institutions, churches, mosques, NGOs, traditional. So they will seek to capture every institution that will raise an alarm against and about what they are doing. And I think Uganda Law Society has fallen in the same trap. I remember one time I went to attend a meeting of Ugandans, North America, something, UNA. It used to be ordinary. Then one time the president went there, then the wife the following day. And because they didn't have a system of sieving who participates in the election, one time they flooded the hall with people who are from Kampala, those who are not in the diaspora, to choose the next, I don't know whether chairman or president, because it had become people like Munini Morera and others outspoken about things that are happening in Uganda. So by the Law Society doing exactly what it should do, speaking about the violation of rights and the application of rule of law, it immediately becomes a threat to people who are violating, and they will seek to take it over or to influence. And I think Rajire Chiwanuka Chiriowa, the Attorney General, his partner Karujire is not very active in these things, but they have been very active determining who becomes the chairman of Law Society. So so the Law Society had become like it is one of the liege of NRM. You occasionally get one chairperson there who wants to act as the president of Law Society, but in the main, most of the first presidents, from Kihika to others, were NRM leaning, whose duty was to whitewash the excesses. But I like Semakade, but I don't think he should be the president of lawyers in Uganda. I don't think so. I think they need to find a person who is cool-headed. I said people like Professor Sempe, who are not partisan, who are not radical, but he has energized the campaign. He has got all of us to follow. I think the lawyers and the public had given up on Law Society because I don't remember the last election and how they went. But to his credit, Semakade has made this very eventful that it is even being discussed. I think this is the first time in many years that you are discussing Law Society, not even once, but twice on Capital Gang. So Semakade,
we may even discuss next week, depending on what one.
So his biggest contribution is that he has gotten the people now.
Yeah.
He has gotten the people now interested in Law Society.
If
again.
KATUNTU had won, we would not discuss next week. But if Semakade wins, we discuss.
I have friends who are lawyers who had also given up. But this morning they were telling me you are going to Munyonyo. So I give him credit that he has made Law Society relevant again. But I don't think he would be. Compared to
my friend who I work with, Philip Karugava, has just finished the voting Semakade, and you know he likes humor. He says they've even asked us to vote using the middle finger. Do they know the meaning of that?
So if Semakade wins,
trouble.
No, not necessarily trouble. If he wins, he deserves it because he has made all of us interested non-lawyers and maybe some lawyers once again in Law Society.
Abdul, you are going back to vote.
Yes.
And Semakade, it is true, has brought turmoil.
Not turmoil.
Should I say turbulence?
He has made the thing eventful.
It's more than humor. But before I ask you the role of Law Society, somebody try to say something about it. What do you think? How is this conference going to end? What do you call it? Say what is it? A conference, a seminar, a convention?
AGM.
AGM. How do you see it ending?
I would like. I don't want to see how it will end. I'm not going to say that. But let me say this. Let me set my own question.
Are you Museveni?
Yes, for
these people love Museveni.
For purposes of this.
Oscar, these people, I am very sure they all vote for my president. They love
Oscar,
my president so much.
Uganda Law Society is a statutory institution.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Meaning it was set up by an act of parliament. And I would like you to give me one second to read to you the objectives for which parliament set up the Uganda Law Society. The first one is to maintain and improve the standards of conduct and learning of the legal profession in Uganda. 2, to facilitate the acquisition of legal knowledge by members of the legal profession and others. 3, to represent, protect, and assist members of the legal profession in Uganda as regards conditions of practice or otherwise. 4, to protect and assist the public in Uganda in all matters touching or incidental to the rule of law, to assist the government and the courts in all matters affecting legislation and administration and practice of law in Uganda. The other ones are really internal objectives and so on. So basically, those are the functions of the Uganda Law Society. For anybody who is aspiring to be a president, the membership of Law Society should be looking at the objective. Can this person lead this society to achieve these objectives? That is me as a voter, and that's what I'll have in mind as I cast my vote. And I imagine that should be any reasonable lawyer, that should be the basis.
Maybe it is us non-voters who are making the noise.
No, actually not.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I'd been away for 3 weeks. So when I came, this whole thing was over. And I usually attend the Saturday meeting. I don't attend the pre-annual general meeting. But because of what has been going on, what Ibrahim is talking about, I had to go and say, what is this going on? And the whole of yesterday afternoon, I was in that place. First of all, I've never seen it, the excitement, enthusiasm, like I saw yesterday. I've never seen the numbers, because, you know, there are those who are outside the hall, but those who are inside the hall are lawyers. And those numbers, we've never seen them before.
Oh, usually you have those outside the hall.
No.
Those are following what's going on.
You can mobilize anybody to come
To come and
so
be
on,
there
or
outside.
facilitators
Okay.
and so on. But inside the hall is for members and so on.
Yeah.
That hall was full, over 1,000 people. But I'm telling you today, it has always been around 400, 500, 600.
This is the voter turnout.
Yes, now I can see more than 2,000 people voting, or over 1,500 people voting. There's a lot of excitement. And the excitement is, one, they are the pro-Semakade and the pro-anti-Semakade. So everybody has been mobilized. And what I have seen, which is quite unfortunate for the society, the law society, is us against them. So we've now ceased to have what we used to have, that, okay, this one will promote this and so on. It is us as against them. And whoever wins has a very enormous task of
Bringing them
uniting
together.
back the lawyers, because it is actually polarized.
I don't see some
The younger people,
united.
the younger people, I must say here, have been mobilized. The upcountry people have been mobilized. And there is this, that the older ones and those who are doing well are this. And then you have what the wretched of the earth. They also now coalescing somewhere. So, and Oscar, maybe, and Ibrahim has just talked about this. I was looking at the list. The profile of people who used to be presidents of law society. You get Naftali Akena-Addo, one of the most celebrated lawyers this country will ever produce. You get about Godfrey Vinaisa, one of the most celebrated lawyers this country will ever produce. You get about Joseph Mulenga, one of the most celebrated lawyers this country will produce. Kaleganjuva, the same. Professor Edward Sempebwa, the same. Justice Remy Kasule, the same. Justice Solome Balungi Bosa, the same. You know, when you talk about people like even John Mary Mujisha, the same. When you talk about Harriet Diana Musoke, she may not be as this, but she's also high up there. And let me stop there. The others are my friends.
People need to know that the names you have read were names before Museveni.
So I don't want to take that argument. So that in my view showed the profile of what Uganda Law Society is, and maybe what should be. Over years, the considerations have sort of changed. And don't think, okay, this one is really high profile, but even the years down, it is more or less a little bit of not as high profile as it is now. But how do you divorce what is going on in the ULC from the body politic of this country? How do you do it?
Exactly.
Where is it?
What is a body politics?
I mean,
let me tell you, I am going to pick. If you ask me, let me give it to you. Where is it? I know when I sat,
people love
doctor.
my president.
No, it has nothing to do with the president. I'm not talking about him. Where I sit, for example, I sat there in 201. And I know the membership of that house. And I know the membership of the house today. They are worlds apart. I can tell you. And I don't want anybody to imagine that what is going on in law society is different from what is going on in the entire body politic, including the institution I work for.
Parliament.
You get the first topic today was rubbish. And rubbish has taken people away, and rubbish is still not going away. How can you have a utopia in ULS now?
What do you mean by utopia?
How can you have the ideal world in the Uganda Law Society when, I mean, these are the arguments they are bringing.
Oscar, there are things, for example, you're asking a wrong person. There are things I do, but I don't do it because people are doing this. I do it them because I believe in them. And that's what people should be doing. Others are the ones who say, well, the ideal is that one, but for us we shall live in the ideal. We shall do the not ideal because of what is going on. But that's their choice. They can afford to do that.
Okay.
So the point I'm trying to make, Oscar, what is going in the law society is not any different from what is going on in the body politic. Whether you are talking about lawyers, you are talking about members of parliament, you're even talking about the journalists. I also know when journalists were journalists, the media was the media.
They say
you
when
get
they were not
editors,
corrupted, those were-
an editor in a newspaper, and you have the editors of today.
Semuju is about it before.
From Seven, Semuju is about
Even the media of
No,
yesterday.
he will not say that because he
It's
was
not-
there after Museveni.
Oscar, even the media of yesterday is not necessarily the media of
But Oscar
today.
is trying. The gang is still okay, no problem.
Yeah, so I mean, that's why it still stands out.
Yes, the gang is still fine. Yes.
So to me, that is what is going on in Munyonyo. Unfortunately for the society, it may be a turbulent society after today. But I would like to pray for whoever wins these elections. I think let the people come in and first of all, we need to accept. But will people accept even the results? Oh, it is going to be the usual thing.
The first
oh,
time
this
they will
has happened,
challenge.
blah, blah, blah. Or will the people accept the result? After the people have accepted, are they willing to work with the one who would have been elected to see that the issues that made the society get divided are addressed? Because it's quite crucial. Even if you may not like Semakade, not that I like him, but are there issues which has to be addressed? Or are we going to hide our head under the sun, say, well, everything is okay? And then Semakade with his style, is it possible really to achieve the objectives of the law society with the Semakade at the helm without him changing his style? So he has to change the style if he wins. If Isaac Atkunda wins, he must find a way of addressing the issues of the law society. But it's part of Uganda today.
Well, Dr. Agnes Hatim, the Timothy Kalegia writes here on X, formerly Twitter, Isaac Semakade, the Morgan Freeman lookalike with unruly hair and combat boots, is the most radical candidate in the 68-year history of the Uganda Law Society. Even if he loses the vote, he will become the best-known lawyer in Uganda.
The best
To the
Known lawyer.
in Uganda. To the public, the true ULS president. So, do you wish them well?
I like.
You wish us well.
Of course, I wish you well, and especially the voting all over. We are politicians, and we know that the results of election is not that you desire. So I think for the lawyers, we wish you the best. We wish you the best, and we hope that the results will be accepted, as my colleague has said. But aside from that, you remember during the break, we were talking about what to expect and all these kind of things. For me, I grew up knowing that law, being a lawyer, law was really one of these very decent kind of thing. They're very careful with their words, very careful with their words, the suits they put on, you know. But the presentation at the moment seems to be changing. But I really want to think that I want to think that institutions evolve, humanity evolves, everything evolves. But when my friend Samuji is still saying it is Museveni, it is the institutions and all these kind of things, that is where we really tend to miss the point. But I think we need to appreciate that, yes, we are going to have very many more, I don't know how to pronounce the other name, Isaac, right? Yes.
Semakade.
Yes, the Semakade. Exactly. So the very many more Semakades will still come. I think the best thing that needs to be done is that the Law Society needs to focus on the institutional foundations and the principles and objectives that my colleague has just laid down. Irrespective of an individual or what, we appreciate that leadership styles are different. Maybe for Semakade, that's how he wants to do it. He wants to be radical, he wants to look the way he looks and all that. But is that style going to deliver the basic principles for that institution? And these lawyers are not people that you are going to tell them what to do. They actually know the right things. People who can go to court and argue even something you know ordinarily it is actually this person who did it, but they will do. Exactly. People who ask questions that were you there, yet somebody was caught with a panga cutting someone. He will even refuse that panga was not, it is not a panga. Yes. Yeah, and maybe even somebody else who dropped it there. Now, these are land people, they call themselves land friends. So me, I wish them well. I hope that there will be land enough to do the land things. Yeah. For me, that is my comment. But my friend Muju wants to bring my president in everything. My president is not there. The issues of
is the one who brings himself in everything.
No, you see. Oscar,
if he didn't, we would be speaking about other things.
Actually, the next NRM president in Chira is going to be Semuju. Because he loves NRM, he loves the president so much that he should be involved in everything.
I love him. I want him to tell us.
We stop for a quick break,
okay.
And after the break, we will move on. We're just two more topics for discussion. The people have wondered, how can I have a topic called Abdu KATUNTU on the order list? And you know, we have three members of parliament in the studio, so I put him on the order list. So Abdu, in your absence, caucus was attended. Dr. Agnes Hatim conveniently missed, because she would have given the evidence then.
Sick leave, yeah.
And Lydia, a senior member of SEC, came on gang the next day and congratulated you on having been announced as a new member of NRM, introduced by the president himself on that Friday, or is it Thursday evening, and having removed the poisonous aspect of the mushroom from you, because previously I had called you a poisonous mushroom, said this mushroom is no longer poisonous, and you and a certain other gentleman had joined the party. Mapinduzi. So that's where we have been.
I've missed a lot.
So yeah, you have missed a lot.
Really
You did not know that
missed
Abdul had joined?
I've missed.
So, so the first questions were, why would you join the NRM party? Because NRM people are leaving the party and
Broad-based
going to
party.
PLU. So, but for you to come and then join NRM, you'd have to have strong reasons.
First of all, it shows you the level of mediocrity of today's press. And I'm really very sorry that it came out of my brother Ibrahim's paper, who, you know, because you see, ethics require, if you are going to write about somebody, ask him for his side of the story. Then you can come up with a headline. So that's what happened. First of all, the facts are, one, I never attended that meeting. That's number one. I wasn't there in that meeting. But also, that meeting was about rationalization of government agencies, where the president had called members of the NRM caucus and some independents they talked to have a common position about the bills coming. And I can also tell you and confirm that since the beginning of this parliament, the government talks to me about some of their positions. Why? Because I'm an independent. And they request me to speak for their position or sometimes to vote for them, which I do. Because I am purely an independent member of parliament. But for somebody to say official, it is now official. Of course it cannot be. One, even the law bars it. You cannot officially join any other party before 6 months to the end of that term, except when you are ready to lose your seat, which I am not ready to lose my seat. And in any case, I have not yet taken that decision. When I went to ask for my mandate in my electorate, to my electorate, I told them, I want to be an independent up to the end of the term, and that's what I'm going to be. So the Observer wrote the paper and the headline, and then everybody on social media and so on, which is okay. But if you are a beautiful girl on the village, everybody would wish to have you. That's not a big deal. And you can't apologize because you are beautiful. This is a beautiful August has not the problem. How many men always coming? That is okay. So until you eventually
So the beautiful girl in this case is you.
you eventually make a choice and so on. So that is exactly factually what happened. But is it true? Even the position I hold today as chairperson of the committee, I was designated by the NRM. Even the other position I hold as a member of the Pan-African Parliament, for which you see most of the time I'm away, I was also designated by the NRM, and the NRM organs vetted me. So do I work with them for parliamentary business? I do, and I have no apologies. And any independent member of parliament should do that. There is no reason why I should not work with a sitting government. You either choose to do one thing, you talk to them or you talk at them. Others have chosen to talk at NRM, have chosen to talk to them. And then there are issues where we agree and there are issues where we don't agree. So there was nothing like a membership, but agreeing and talking to the NRM, that is true. I do.
Agnes had him, so he's not in your party.
But he's about to come, don't worry.
Everything indicates so. He's designated by the
Oh,
party.
thank you so much. I really want to thank my colleague for having that issue really cleared on here, because like he rightly said, and we observe in this country, is that the media fraternity seems to be losing it, as we were talking about other institutions, that they pick issues. I'm not a journalist, the senior journalists are here.
But this one came from Lydia Anyoto, sat in the chair where...
No, Lydia would be in my position.
She made the declaration.
For me, Lydia would be in my position. The moment I see, because that's how we are... We know that this was NRM caucus meeting, but we also know that independent members are invited, and we've ever had And depending on what statement that was made there, I wasn't there in the caucus, I would also be excited, really. Like she's really a beautiful girl, as he has mentioned it. And we are out there to get them. It's Semuju, next time I will invite him personally for the caucus meeting. So as a party...
But Semuju is not an independent.
As a party, we would be very happy. Do you know that these Semujus, even when there is a state house function, and there's a president for everybody, they don't want to go.
I wanted you to make a correction. Semuju is not an independent.
He's not.
Though he has been chased from his party. So to go to his party headquarters, he needs a will.
He has not been chased.
He's not, but I'm telling you that the issue here is that as a country, we need to start being matured in the way we politic. We also need to start looking at a progressive kind of politics, but not this one where when you're in opposition, you should not even cross in front of State House. That is not politics. It's not about pleasing somebody. It should be about an engagement, the way my colleague said. If it is an issue of national importance that is about rationalization, and you are called upon as a member of parliament, irrespective of your party, you should be able to give your views. But we have reached a point where there's this one party, the polarized NRM is here against the other.
Ask Agatha.
That's
here.
not how we are going to develop our country. Yeah.
Agatha, you're on microphone. So why would someone join NRM anyway?
Did I ever tell you a story of how Florence of Bukoto? Yes, Florence Namayanja. Yeah, one day said in the Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, telling Honorable Tafi, said, Tafi said, I have told you to join NRM, and Namayanja said, why would I join a sinking ship? Tafi said, it has been sinking since 1986, but it has never reached the bottom. I would join it. so maybe if
it has never reached the bottom.
If you want a sinking party that will never reach the bottom, like we'll continue sinking but will never hit the bottom, NRM is the party to join, because others are they there? And they did. We were talking about Honorable Semuju's party here. Someone said they chased him. He said he's voluntarily leaving, but
no, they chased him.
That is voluntarily leaving, because even him, he doesn't want to lose his seat, just like you said. Yes.
You missed the news. He was instructed, if he goes to Najana Nkumi, you'd better go with the will ready, because it's survival.
Thankfully for Honorable Semuju, the Search Kubo case set a precedent that even if they chase you, you are not losing your seat in Parliament. So but what I'm saying is, where are the other parties? UPC, FDC. So probably Honorable Abdu, if he's joining NRM, he's joining the party that continues sinking but will never reach, hit the bottom for 40 years now. I don't know if it will remain the same after when President Museveni is no longer here, but at the end of the day, from what Honorable Abdu said, and he knows what the lawyers call what's the word? So there's been corroboration about his crossing. He said he's designated by NRM to lead the Rules and Disciplines Committee, right? Yeah. So for everyone, for all intents and purposes, he and Honorable Mapenduzi are working with NRM, and
nothing wrong with that.
no one is saying there's anything wrong with it. We are just saying that that's how it looks for people who are sitting on this side, because we know how NRM designates chairpersons of that committee, and many times it's loyalty based, it's rewards based. So when
that
you
is not true.
Or there's a fishing.
That one
somewhere.
is not true. That's an assumption. We apply for those positions.
But it's even when you apply. So applying means
loyalty.
So does applying mean you automatically get it?
You see now he did it.
You see, but that's exactly what I am saying.
But the party
we have seen that's how there is no committee which is led on the basis of competence.
Really?
when you look at them, okay. For I'm not going to say. I'm not going to say. Are you talking for our institution?
Overqualified.
We're talking for our
think that was
in that parliament, they are very professional people.
So let's look at people who had like the health committee, for example, infrastructure committee.
You think Dr. Ayume is not
Dr. Ayume is not the chair of the health committee. They removed him.
No,
they removed him.
I think
Who is the current chair of the health committee? What do you mean educate her?
I know, you are not a member of parliament.
Oh my God.
Parliament runs.
But I mean,
Parliament runs.
Agatha, listen to
In a more
listen
parliament.
to her. You are coming.
There is a sector committee where a member has to run it after every 1 year. So, but you may leaving does not mean that there was something or what.
That his time was finished.
Yes, then we have sessional. But 2 years, and then there's a sessional committee where you sit there for 2.5 years.
that wasn't the
So
issue.
a woman leaving, somebody else coming.
And I was saying he's no longer the chair. That's where the issue
But
is.
who told you the new
when
one
you
is
are
not competent?
telling me, no, but Honorable Samiju here agreed with me. Let's look at technical committees. Let's look at who heads the budget committee, the finance committee. Even the ministers.
Yeah.
So for me, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
For you, your opinion is these
What is
positions are given
Based on loyalty.
on patronage.
Yep, exactly. That's what it has always
Honorable
been.
Semaju,
Is that true?
that's she has given an
It is
opinion.
not true.
And Abdu knows how to
You
defend.
see, from what Abdu has said, I would do the story that the Observer did from Abdu's account. The only area where I agree with him, if they didn't speak to him, because in journalism you speak to people when you are writing about them. But if the NRM confides in you, they appoint you, they consult you. Because in the last parliament, Amama Mbabazi had introduced as Secretary General of NRM I've forgotten the name, writing memorandum of understanding. People they will work with, you first sign memorandum of understanding. From the explanation of NRM, they said they signed the memorandum of understanding with Honorable Mapenduzi.
Yes.
They did not sign with Honorable Abdu Katuntu. But for me, knowing what NRM is...
And they did not sign because Mao refused the
No.
MOU.
Knowing NRM...
Mao signed.
Knowing NRM, it means the same thing. Because I don't think Abdu works with NRM. Abdu, the president, consults him. And it is the president who made the announcement that Abdu is no longer a bad mushroom. He's now a good one. He has joined us. He has joined us. that was the announcement.
Yeah.
That was the announcement of the president. I think his relationship or the working is not with NRM, because after all, NRM does not exist. So he's consulted by the president, who is the NRM. Because you see, Abdu, you will forgive us. From the bad mushroom, the one who Museveni did everything to ensure you don't come to parliament, deploying military people to beat up everybody in UDD, shooting in the air, shooting people, deploying ISO to one that now you can work together. So that transformation, anyone is bound to make the same conclusion that the Observer made, especially because the meeting was a closed meeting where the president announced that you and Mapenduzi had joined. But subsequently, to have a member of the NRM Central Executive Committee coming to Gang and announcing, actually, I don't know why he did it. NRM people, you remember Oscar? I had refused to go for Capital Gang of State House. You remember what you told me? I don't know if you'll be offended if I said it here.
No.
Because I told Abdu I'm not going, Oscar, and he said Museveni will think that you have feared him. That's what motivated me to say, how can I fear Museveni? Now I am going. But I had refused. What happened that day as we were leaving, after recording the program, Migereko was a Minister of Lands then. He hugged me and he said, thank you for seeing the light Just because he had seen me, just going to State House means exactly that in the mind of all NRM. So, Dr. Apia, you must understand, yes, we need to change it. In Tanzania, the opposition goes to State House to meet the president. In Kenya, they do the same thing. What you need to struggle to change is the Museveni State House, which became a clearing house. People go to State House to line up for jobs, for money, for what? And that's why I told Oscar, I am telling you, but I told you the mindset of his minister. As soon as we finish the show and we are walking out of State House, the man hugs me and he said, "Thank you, my brother, for seeing the light."
This is perception.
Yes, even the ministers know. And that's why you hear NRM MPs say, "But don't you go to State House at night?" Because if going to State House is okay, why do they think going there
at night?
Why should it be at night?
But Abdu, the 1 minute and we close, and because I want us to talk about honor. Any takings from discussion on the table?
Well, nothing. I think what Agatha and Ibrahim are talking about is perception. And I don't have any problem. To me, I'm not so much bothered about perception, because perception is what people judge you. I'm concerned about what I am, what the authentic me. So, but for a member of parliament of my stature, my experience over 2.5 decades in the parliament, and I don't talk to a sitting head of state, how? For a head of state who does not talk to a person who has been in parliament for 23 years on parliamentary issues and so on, I think that would also be a big mistake. I am here as a Ugandan, and let me tell you, we had the same conflict as I got the microphone, Oscar, when I was in a Forum for Democratic Change about loyalty. You see, whether you are loyal to the country or you are loyal to your party, and where is the line of when you say with this one I cannot. Any issue which in my own view is a national issue, I'll talk to everybody. And Ibrahim, you know this. You remember when in the 8th Parliament, Professor Ogenga Latigo was developed, and an issue came about deployment of Ugandan troops in Somalia. FDC said over dead body they care, and so on. So what the then Minister of Defense, who was it? Is it Kionga, Mama? One of them, Kionga. He sat with Latigo and actually gave him the details of what they are going to do or what they have done. And Latigo, because he said, okay, who can I share this sort of information with? Who will understand why this country is taking this decision? And it doesn't become a political issue for to go on the radio, say blah, 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 and so on. So he talked to some of us, say, look here, this is what is happening, including actually what you would think it is state security. But that took a very responsible Minister of Defense and a very responsible leader of opposition, which happens even in developed economies, in developed countries like the US and so on. Today, just imagine that a boss could even have said, look here, Senyonyi, we must sit and talk about this, but it may it certainly may not be possible.
Yeah.
So,
okay,
that's the condition. I don't mind who, but that is what it is, and that makes the difference between leaders and politicians. So the choice is actually
thank you.
in a politician and a leader to make, and I make mine.
Star Cafe, thank you. Dr. Atim, I don't know if you've had some Star Cafe material. Here on Gang, you don't have to carry your chapati, you can eat anything. So, Honorable Semuju, you start eulogizing. He had, I think you were here when Honor came. And you know, he was that kind of man. He tried to find me, couldn't. Then he told the producer, Patricia, that I'm coming to Gang on Saturday. And we said, yeah, please. And previously, he'd been talking about his book. And this was barely 2 months ago. And yesterday, he's gone.
You know, I said when Onapito was here, he taught me for 2 years when I was doing journalism at Makerere. And I told him when he appeared here that he was my best lecturer. He said, and I told him, I'm not saying it because you are here. He was one of the best lecturers in the mass communication department. He's been in the media, I went to work for Monitor when they had just started the Crusader. He was a formal. He grew up from a peasant family, but he became a little bit aristocratic, formal. If you're not careful, you will not understand Wanapito. But we elect him as a lecturer. He meant business. He did not victimize anyone. And it was always a pleasure listening to him. He was well-read, knowledgeable. I actually didn't know that he had been hospitalized until the Honorable Segona called me and he said, your lecturer is dead, because I was with Segona at the university. So I don't want to say the media has missed him, because he has since left. How because he left us in Makerere towards the end of our course, 1998, I think. That's when he went to stand for a by-election in Amuri and to become an MP. He was also, by the way, my supervisor for my dissertation. So I had worked with him for academic purposes very closely. And he's very critical. He was a very critical person. I was actually surprised that he went to work as a press secretary for M7. That is one of the things that shocked me about him, because the Wanapito that I know, not someone who will be a praise singer, someone who will tell you his professional mind, to go and work in an environment like a state house. I was shocked. In Parliament, I think the most memorable thing about him was that, was it a motion, Abdu, or yes, for a private member's bill with the General Muntu, to say President should appoint ministers outside Parliament.
Ministers should not be.
Ministers should not be MPs, because they tend, I mean, this whole saga of Mabati, many of the ministers were taking Mabati for election purposes. Except I think only KATUNTU is one I heard that either his brother or someone was selling them, but the others.
But what about Lugorobi, who used it?
Lugorobi was just hopeless, but Lugorobi was just hopeless. But majority went to roof churches, they went to schools, and so on and so forth. So in the view of Wanapito and General Muntu, was that when you have a minister who is also constantly campaigning and seeking to retain a constituency, they get compromised. And many other things people may not know, whether it is a road, whether it is a relief, they tend to start with their constituencies even when they are not meant to be beneficiaries. So that is one of his memorable contributions in the Parliament. He was not aggressive, but knowledgeable, and sometimes, so we will miss him. I've worked with him, he taught me, and his death, I only learned that actually he has had issues for about 2 months. In fact, maybe when he left Capital Ghana, that's when those issues started. So I joined colleagues and family to mourn him.
Abdu?
You see, Ekolomwet was such a wonderful guy. I've known him for many, many years. When they left, when they were about to leave the Monitor, they were young people, together with the one senior person, I don't remember the name, but they started consulting some of us because they didn't have money to hire senior lawyers to establish the Crusade, I think it was called Crusader newspaper. And I'm one of them they consulted. He was my junior at university, of course, but there is a certain lady who comes from my place. We belong to the same clan, and is the one they moved with. So they were younger people. I think that's the first group of very young people who came up to do an independent print media. These people of the Monitor, when they left the Weekly Topic, they were quite senior, many of them. But these ones were really, really very young people when they came together, and I said, look here, we need now to do business, but professional. Unfortunately, the paper didn't last long and so on. But, you know, a very, very enlightened guy. He would read. you know, look at all the stories Apito would write and so on, well thought out stories and so on. I think he's one of the finest journalists this country will ever produce. Unfortunately, it was a short spell because thereafter he diverted in so many things. But even when he joined the corporate world, he really succeeded, I think, up to almost director level. And then he started, by the time he passed on, he was chairing a number of boards, almost 3 or so boards. So there's a lot to write about on Apito. Good enough. Before he died, he wrote his story.
A book, yeah.
So you will not take any, if you want to really to know more about him, read that book. Somebody from a very, very humble background, and stories when he joined his brother. There's a story when he was in a taxi tout. They call them touts, these ones who go in matatus and they are picking money and so on. He also did all sorts of jobs to survive and be what he is, what he was. There are not many people who rise that way. But it tells you that in Uganda, everything is possible. There is a dream. You can achieve it with hard work. You can achieve it. And that's what Apito is. Let his soul rest in peace.
Dr. Atima.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very unfortunate that we lose such a person at this very critical time. I personally didn't know him personally, but I followed him a lot, and I read a lot of his article. And he really brought out these very professional and neutral views, and he would also give alternative views and all that. So it would be very difficult for you to know where he actually stands. And I thought that was very, very good of him. The other thing that I actually haven't got his book. I think I'll get his book and read more. But yesterday there was this clip that was being sent around when he was handing over at Nile Breweries. And then I think he gave a testimony of leaving government and going for private sector. And for me, I think that's very instrumental, that we need to learn that even if you're in government, in State House and all that, you are not handing over. Now I want to put your own words. You can leave government and go for private sector.
Exactly. So
that's what I mean. Now for Sebuji is taking it back
you can
to...
leave government. I apologize. So you have said you can leave government.
No, I'm saying... anyway, that is Sebuji for you. But one thing that stood out really for me, I think it was in NBS very recently, and every other time he's on a show, he would really talk about institutions and systems working for the citizens of Uganda. And I think for me that is what should really be the main issue for all Ugandans, that let's make institutions and systems established by government work for the people of Uganda, other than blaming government, and yet you've been given a position. That position has policies, has terms of reference, and has things to offer. But you find that they say, oh, I was not given money. Oh, I mean, so I really applaud him for that. May his soul rest in peace.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Agatha, you're on this panel here, you're still the active journalist. Any influences picked up from Apito?
I never experienced him as
He's a Gen Z.
as a full-time journalist per se, but I used to appear with him on the Fourth Estate on NTV. I appeared with him on the Fourth Estate a couple of times, and here once, which is my recollection of him just recently. Must have been a month and a half ago. And when we were outside there talking about his retirement, he was so happy about his retirement and telling us to come to Teso and see how he's breathing fresh air and no longer, has to be in the chaos of Kampala. But he was the same guy who is always calm. whenever he's, some of us become very passionate when we are talking about these things, but never, like, there's no day when I have sat with him on a panel and he loses his cool over anything.
Always calm.
He was always calm, and also, like, the way he was moving from one thing to another, so he wouldn't have been those people, the culture in Uganda where people insist on keeping positions, or gatekeeping as they call it here, like how he moved his career from journalism to parliament to state house, but still, left state house to go to UBL where he has really done so well. I was really shocked and saddened by his death. Yeah. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
A closing message here from Ivan Okuda. He also has on Twitter, on X, formerly Twitter, kind of despairs. Says, as someone who talks to people across Uganda's political divide, I can tell you the Uganda Law Society election will partly be shaped by the political atmosphere prevailing in Uganda today. It's the worst time to be seen as pro-establishment. ULS finds itself in the same place that Kenya Law Society did in the struggle to reform Kenya from and after Arap Moi. I want to thank you for your presence on Gang today.
Hey, that
Dr.
is still Ivan.
No, it's finished.
Has ended.
Has ended. The show has ended. Thank you so much, Dr. Agnes Atima-Pea, for Gang today. Thank you, Agatha Atwaire, for Gang. Thank you, Honorable Semuju, for Gang. Thank you, Honorable KATUNTU, for Gang. Star Cafe, thank you so much for powering the Gang. I am Oscar Semiyam Soke, and I shall see you next week.